Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be your host today on Archery Talk 101. This is podcast number 241, and you can listen to them wherever you get podcasts, as well as on audible.com and places you can watch the video on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself, or in the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group is another good place to watch it. So let's get started with Jacob. He's going to be talking with us today, and we're going to see what's going on in his world of archery. Welcome to the show, Jacob.
Thanks for having me.
How about if you introduce yourself and then tell us a little something about you?
I'm Jacob Hemstock. I've been doing this since I was a wee little kid. I think, whenever the first Lord of the Rings movie came out, would have been 2000. I think I went out back and cut a stick and strung it up and kind of took off shooting from there.
That's the way to get started. A lot of people get started, they watch a show that has archery and it's like, oh, that's so cool. I want to do it. I know when Hunger Games come out, there's a big surge of archers wanting to get into recurves.
Hmm.
And, it's hey, whatever it takes to get started in archery, right?
Yeah. I started out um, a little stick and a string, and then there's a local Joad program. My mom got me involved with that, and I started out shooting recurve. I shot recurve, oh, 4 or 5 years, I think. I shot recurve, and then I switched over and started shooting compound. And then when I was going into junior high, kind of got into more of the full blown compound, started bow hunting a little bit. And then when I was, 14, 15, started getting into the competition side of things. Got really big into the competition side, started shooting that, traveling, started going to Vegas, some of the other tournaments. Um, I went pro when I turned 18, started shooting pro class, shot that for a couple of years, and I moved back up to Alaska and I ended up taking 7 years off. Just got too busy with work and life, didn't have time for anything.
Yeah.
And they, one of my buddies, he got back into it and convinced me to get shooting again. So I picked it back up 4 years ago and kind of actually trying now.
Yeah, it's kind of a common story. You're real big into it, and then life kind of gets in the way of the archery. And it's times when you get kids and family, sometimes it's kind of hard to spend the time into the archery that it really needs. And so your kids get old enough and they get interested in archery, and then drags you into it again. And
Yeah, it's really easy to get burnt out too, especially if you're chasing after the contracts or trying to play the game with everything at the top, and if you're not mentally prepared or have a system in place to mentally manage things, you just get burnt out so fast.
yeah, when you're in the pro circuit, then you've got to be winning money because that's the amount of time you have to spend on it. You don't really have time to work a full-time job.
No, it's tough. It's
Yeah.
hard. So I still work full time now. So my standard work schedule when I'm at work, we do 7/12s. So I'll go work for a couple months at a time, come home, take 3, 4 weeks off, practice up, go shoot a tournament. Sometimes I'd just come home from work, load everything up, go shoot a tournament, come home for work. So it's hard to stay competitive and in the mix, not having time to dedicate to a training regimen, practice schedule.
Yeah. So you're working 7/12s for how long of that stretch you do that before you get a break?
The My old job that I just left here a couple months ago, anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks was pretty normal. Um, the new gig that I'm doing now, we're trying to keep it around 6 to 8 weeks max before you get some time off.
That's a lot of hours working. And
Yeah,
now is it in a remote location where away from where you live, or
everything's pretty much remote. So I'm up in Alaska, so I was when you got a hold of me about coming on the podcast. I was up above the Arctic Circle in the village of Kotzebue for a month, doing stuff up there, and then I'm home now for a little bit. Well, everything's kind of wrapping up at other jobs, and then I'll head back out to Western Alaska in October.
So yeah, I'm glad we got a hold of you in your little breaks. Get a chance to talk to you. So you're still trying to shoot in the pro class, or you just shoot something else?
Nope, I got my pro card back. I think this will be going on 3 years having it back. I shot one season as an amateur, or 1.5 seasons. And as soon as I was eligible and met the MQS and everything, got my pro card back. So anything that has the pro class, that's what I shoot in. Then I'll shoot championship for Vegas and all the like NAFA Foundation stuff that I go to.
Yeah. So what's it like shooting in that pro class?
It's honestly, it's awesome. It's if you, I grew up in a weird time where like the social media boom was just happening. I was on George Ryle's Hornet team, so George kind of helped all of us along through that initial surge. And when going into it, then it was all the people that I'd been shooting with when I was younger, because a bunch of us were all the same age. I'm within a year of like Chris Perkins, Mikey Schlosser, Stefan Hansen, a few others. We're all around the same age. So I'd been shooting with them at tournaments for a long time. And then we get into pro class, and it's just like shooting in the backyard with your buddies, but everybody's really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't have an off day.
No, and it's nice, especially in a tournament like Vegas, because we'll with the new venue, or even when it was at South Point, we only ran the one-sided line, and then we all know what we're there to do. So we can crank out a whole Vegas game in like an hour and 10 minutes and be done. Get up, get the scores done, then you can go hang out. So you're not obligated for the whole 2.5 hours for a line time that a lot of the other classes see, which is really nice.
Yeah, a lot less people in the pro class, isn't there?
Well, there's less people, and we can get through it really fast. We don't use the full 2 minutes most of the time, or whatever our time limit is for what we're shooting. And then scoring is usually pretty easy. There's not a bunch of math to do at the end. It's, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I dropped 1 point the whole day. That's easy to count.
That was that was part of my push to get good at archery. Is I didn't want to have to do so much math when I was scoring. So it's like, well, if I just don't miss, it's easy math.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how, each round it's got different numbers and you got to add all those numbers up and yeah, especially start getting in 12 rings or counting 11s or something like that. Now you've got these twos and ones and fives and zeros and yeah, I can see how that'd be definitely be a good reason to get in the pro class and get good enough so that you can shoot those, perfect scores and then you have to just keep track of how many X's you got. I remember when I was first getting started, you almost never heard of somebody getting a 300. It was unusual, 398 or 298s, 295, 299s, and then now, if you're not shooting a 300, you're not even in the running.
Yeah, and it gets harder every year to stay competitive. The young guys that are coming up are making it very much a challenge.
Yeah, a lot of different training techniques, come
Mm-hmm.
along, especially like in the recurve world and even in the compound world, it used to be it's like to teach you, well, just open your fingers. Yeah, well, that's not consistent, or to release. Well, just pull the trigger. Yeah, that's not how you do it. And a lot of people still do. It's like think they have to put that finger up there and just cram on that trigger as hard as they can. And Yeah, yeah. When I shoot my releases, you don't see nothing move but my hand coming back. Yeah. Well, I'm shooting a wrist strap with a trigger on it, or I'm shooting a handheld. So I keep this on my desk. Just this is my Scott, just a little pen on it, and then I shoot the Carter Chocolate Addiction, and when I shoot them, nothing moves except my arm moving back, and it took a while learning
Mm.
that. 95 is when I learned that, and until then, it's like somebody told me about back tension release. It's like, well, how do you know when it's going to go off, and how do you know when you're going to because I'm used to aiming and squeezing the trigger. Yeah, shooting rifles on the rifle team in high school, that's what we did. But once you learn the concept, it's like, oh well, yeah, that don't work too well.
Nope. Yeah, definitely helps to have the old surprise release and let it float and let it go when it goes.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at how well you shoot when you start doing that. Just almost, it's once you get that surprise release, it's amazing how many times you can get a good shot. That's when I'm teaching, I'll have them just draw back and keep your finger off the trigger, where you can't pull it because you're there. Just keep aiming, pull, 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 pull. Keep pulling, arch up and touch that trigger, and it's like they just explode. And 90+% of the time, they actually hit what they're aiming at because all they had to do is aim. And I tell it's like your job in archery is to store energy and aim. That's all you got to do. You can't consciously pull the trigger because while you're thinking about pulling the trigger, you're not aiming anymore.
Yep.
So, what kind of equipment are you shooting now?
I'm uh I'm shooting a Hoyt Concept X40. I got oh see shoot for AE, so I'm running a freak show, set up 10 thou blade. I'm shooting A Denali bars on there right now. I have a True Ball Achieve XP, and then one of the XL or the AVX 31 scopes on there. I'm running the X Focus doublets. I shoot a 4 power for indoors, and I've been playing with a 5 outdoors. I think I might play with 5 indoors and get a 6 for outdoors for some of the stuff I have coming up. But I really like the lower magnification instead of the high. I don't really worry as much about not seeing so much, especially at long range. But I see enough that I can aim precisely, but I don't get any extra movement I don't need, and I still have a good field of view. So I really like a 4 or 5 for all around.
Yeah, the more you magnify it, the more your movement's magnified as well. And just like in binoculars, if you get a 7 power, you open, it stays very steady. You get a 10, it's not too bad. You get a 12 or higher, and it's hard to hold. Like try holding a spotting scope by hand. You
Hmm.
can't see anything, because that 50 power is like, just like shaking all over the place. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I never try and hand hold a spotting scope because yeah, it don't work.
I'm I'm still lucky and I can hold pretty steady, so I can run more magnification if I want to. I just haven't found a need for it yet. I'm shot this year all outdoor season with a 5, and I was really happy with that. It did really well leading up and all the training before Reading. Did really well in Reading. Did really well in all the state shoots that I was able to shoot up here. For 3D, it works good for me, depending on the lighting and the targets. I mean, I can see scoring rings out to 40, 50 yards, depending on the target and the lighting. So I don't see a need to go any higher. I
Yeah.
know me and some of the guys I shoot with up here talking about trying to make it down to the ASA and Foley this coming year. So I might get a 6 to play with for down there just because you got to shoot a lot more 12s. Known pro is kind of a tough class.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't go for those 12s and start getting those 12s, they're going to leave you behind. Now, do you hunt with magnification or is it just for your target?
I just run a pin for hunting. I haven't. It's been a little while since I've had a hunting bow set up. With my work schedule, I've been so busy. Most of the hunting I've been doing up here has been super late season. I'll just go out with a rifle and put some meat up for in the freezer.
Well,
I got a
yeah, that's why we're hunting, so we get to meet.
I got a hunting bow set up for this year, and yeah, I'm just running it's actually the UV, their 3 pin with their little ranger pin on the bottom, so it's kind of a 4 pin. I just put that on one of my target sites, so I can build a good tape for if I do have to shoot long ways. But I got multi-pin for middle distance.
Well, you might have a little bit longer, but on here in Nebraska, my place down here, you're hunting in the woods, you're not gonna get more than 20-yard shot.
I wish there was 20-yard shots on everything up here. We're looking at going up north, up on the Dalton all road to go chase caribou last week, September. Go make a meat hunt, and you want to be comfortable shooting 80, 90, 100 up
Yeah,
there with how the terrain is. You try to get close, and you can get within 30, 40, 50 of them, depending on where you're at. But especially sometimes on a first shot or for follow up shots if needed, you want to be comfortable stretching it out there a ways.
yeah, and you really should practice at the longer ranges because it makes you more accurate up close. I know I used to take start at 20 and then go 30 and then 40. At indoor range, I could go out to 40, and then you go back up to 20, and it's like you're just trying to stick the arrow in the same hole, and you kind of start wrecking more arrows. You keep your group the same, going moving back, and then you get used to shooting them 40-yard shots, and the 20s are nothing.
I like practicing a lot in the 40 to 60 yard range because it's a really good distance to where you can hold really good groups and you can get a lot of information about how your setup is doing and what you have to adjust for tuning. Where it's not, well, was that one the wind or did I have some weirdness going on? Because once you get to 70, 80, 90, 100, especially up here where it's always breezy, it's kind of hard. If I am seeing variation, that's something I have to tune out, or was there a gust of wind downrange that I didn't see?
Yeah, that is a challenge when you're starting to hunt the longer ranges. When you have places like there here in the Midwest, we always have wind. First thing in the morning, we can get by not having wind, but after that, yeah, there's almost always wind around here.
Yeah, this year when my training partner and I were getting ready to go to Reading, it took us 3 or 4 times down to our outdoor range setup that we got here in town, which is, I mean, we just go put his bale out behind the shop he works at. But it took us 3 or 4 times to be able to get out past 80 yards because it was constant 15 to 18 crosswind, and there's enough wind drift that we'd hold like the right edge of the bale and be hitting just inside the left edge of the bale at 80, and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna
Yeah,
risk it going.
yeah, risk losing too many arrows.
Yeah, pro tours get kind of expensive when you're hooking them into the bushes.
Yeah, because you don't have much time to go hunt for them.
No,
You just go up and okay, you got about 3 minutes. You found it in 3 minutes. Okay, we're out of here. Hopefully, you don't miss too many like that.
nope. I've been doing pretty good. I haven't missed anything or haven't missed set of sight. Knock on wood in a long time. I've blown through a few targets. Redding's always known for that. You get pass throughs, especially on day 3 in the canyon. I've lost a few there, and
Yeah,
I've
as targets get shot up, they get kind of weak in that kill zone. So when you do get a chance to practice, what's your practice schedule like?
It depends on what events I have coming up. So indoor season, I have a range bale in my house, and I'll shoot a lot of close games and blank bale at 8 yards, and I'll shoot on average 150, 200 arrows a day. Just because it put something up on YouTube, turn the TV on, just stand there and just shoot away inside. Don't have to worry about it being cold. And
Yeah.
then I'll go, once or twice a week, I'll try to get with a training partner and we'll go shoot some scores at 20 and then make it up sometimes for like league night. I definitely shoot a lot more on average for indoors. Outdoor season, it's I try to put a lot of arrows in, but I'll put more emphasis on quality practice over quantity. So I might only shoot 50 or 60 arrows a day, but I'll try to make 50 or 60 really, really good shots and make everything the same, kind of like I am shooting a tournament. But then we'll have days where we have good weather and we're okay, we're going to go make sure everything's good and we'll go shoot 400 or 500 arrows in a day. Make 8-10 hour day out of it and go shoot a whole bunch of 50-meter, build, verify site tapes, and make sure everything's dialed in.
But keeping a little variety of just about everything.
Yeah. I know the big one for indoor is I like to be in shooting shape to where the first arrow I put out of the bow and the last arrow I put out of the bow for the day hit the exact same point, and I can just walk up cold and start scoring and not see a degradation in scores. So I'd shoot enough to where, I only have to shoot 35 arrows today or 50 arrows today. I'm never going to hit a point of fatigue. And I like being at the point of I can shoot for 3 times or 4 times what I need to shoot for score before fatigue sets in.
That's kind of good, because when you get into tournaments, you get a little more pressure on you and a little more nerves, and that kind of makes it, you get weaker quicker.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on. You get wore down. So I'll shoot when I'm practicing or I'm training. The first arrows out of the bow for the day get scored as long as I'm sighted in. So if I'm sighted in at 20, I'll go hang a fresh face, and the first 3 I put in it are scored. I don't shoot warm up. I don't take practice. If I was going to warm up, I'll just shoot some blank bail. But the first arrows on the paper are for score. And that's usually every game I shoot.
And that's kind of what my thought too is, like, if I'm hunting, I don't get a warm-up shot. My first arrow's got to count because I only get one arrow normally. Now, once in a while, you'll get a second one, but generally, your first arrow counts. You're going to make a good shot, or you're going to make a good shot. And I figure it's like, I'm going to make a good shot the first shot because that's what I have to do when you hunt. So why take a good shot, your first shot, and not score it? Like, you want to warm up? No, I'll get the first arrow. Yeah, when I get to a tree, I will put an arrow in and draw it back, make sure it's all right and let down, but I don't shoot it. I'm just making sure my muscles are not too cold and stiff. Up there in Alaska, Nebraska, our hunting season is normally pretty cold. Yours a little colder than ours down here, but
yeah, it gets a little nippy up here sometimes.
yeah. Well, and hunting out in when it's cold is different than shooting your bow in the cold as well as shooting it in a normal day and on a hot day. Because we might have a day we're out and get a tournament, go in a tournament, and it could be in the 90s or more. And of course, I had one of them big liter bottles of water, and I'd freeze it. So it's froze constantly, and as I get to the station, I just keep filling it up, and I got an insulated pouch that I stick it in, and the ice will pretty much stay all day long because it's ice water I'm putting in there, and your bow's going to act differently. Now, how do you prepare for or think about how you're going to compensate when you're going shooting and it's in the 90s as opposed to going into when it's in the 30s or 40s?
So that's a tough one. We see that a lot, especially this year. So like leading up, I'm talking about Reading a lot because it kind of hit all the points. It was in the low 40s the whole time we were training and getting ready before Reading. Like we were shooting in hoodies and puffy coats in the rain and the wind, and we get down to Reading and it's 90 degrees. So I've gotten older. I'll book a couple extra days on the trip and go down early to get acclimated to the weather. And I'll take a day or two where I won't even touch my boat. I'll just hang out, get acclimated to the hot and the sun, and make sure I'm hydrated. And then I'll go start practicing. And the day before the shoot, I'll put a few arrows through. I won't overdo it. I won't shoot a lot. But it's definitely something to think about. And the equipment does move. Strings will stretch. Like I live right off the ocean, so I'm here at sea level. So I might get down to Reading and way higher in elevation, different atmospherics. Might adjust my sight tape or verify things. So there's definitely things we think about. There's one thing nice about indoors. It's all pretty climate controlled and it's not too
Yeah,
bad. Usually
yeah.
nothing
If
moves.
yeah, shooting indoors is kind of pretty much no matter where you're at, it's going to be about the same.
Yeah, that was the big reason we were all talking about going to Foley. It's the one in the spring, so it's the only one where it's not like 95 degrees and humid. So we're like, we'll go shooting there.
Yeah, that is something to think about too when you get ready to go someplace. Is what is the weather like there? Are you indoors? Or are you outdoors? And then what are you going to do if all of a sudden you're outdoors and you get a big rain coming through and it's not going to quit all day long? So you have to shoot in the rain. How would you prepare for someplace like that that's basically raining the whole time?
Well, we do pretty good about looking at the weather forecasts before we travel to events. But anymore now, if I go to any outdoor event, I just pack my rain gear and leave it in the bow case. And the worst that comes of it is I just have to run back to the case and grab it, or I just leave it in the rental car. I just have to go get it from the car. We'll send someone to go grab stuff out of the car and bring it to us if it starts raining like in the middle of shooting at like a USAT or something. We can't leave. And we just embrace it and shoot through it. We've all shot in bad weather. Some of us,
Yeah.
I really like shooting in the rain. Honestly,
Oh
it's
yeah.
calm. Thing I do it. I practice in it a lot, so it's comfortable for me. I'm not out of my element to shoot in the rain, where a lot of people don't practice or train in the rain. They don't shoot in it. They don't get used to your hands are always wet and the release settles different, or you're going to start hitting low because stuff starts getting heavy and getting wet, and then you can't see as well, so re- you have to aim a little bit differently sometimes in the rain. And I'm used to shooting in it because it rains here all the time. I live in coastal Alaska. I'm the northern of a temperate rainforest, a couple hundred inches of precipitation a year.
It's a lot of rain. Yeah, you gotta. That's something you always got to practice for the environment and for those bow hunters. You're wearing safety harness. You got to make sure you're um, prepared for that. And there's a lot of things going on. And I'll leave a little thing up here on a podcast I did. I interviewed Nebraska's Game and Parks tree stand safety guys. I had a whole great big old thing, and especially if you're hunting at a tree stand that you made, that's the highest probability of having an accident. Homemade tree stands. But that's something you always got to pay attention to is make sure you have you're doing it safely if you're out hunting. And so you mostly you don't do your bow too much in hunting up there because of your limited time or um
I do bow hunt, but I just don't have a lot of time to get out and do it. I just took a new job that hopefully gives me more time to get out and hunt. To be honest, I haven't hunted too much in the past 5 years just due to work and being busy. Pretty much all I've done is gotten a bunch of blacktail sporadically. But I got this year I got the whole month of September off, so I'm gonna go chase moose around a whole bunch, and then sounds like we're gonna go up north and do a caribou hunt, and then in December I'll go get some more deer. And
Well, that sounds good.
it's fun to go chase them around. I mean, I don't really miss not moose hunting and chasing stuff around in September because all it does is rain for 3 weeks, and you're just out there and everything's wet and it's cold, and it's really rare to get nice weather in September for most of the state. But it is something I do enjoy getting out. They are rather delicious, so I do like filling the freezer when I can.
Yeah. Well, that's why we hunt, right? We want meat in the freezer and good meat.
Yeah, moose do that. There's a lot of meat on those.
Yeah, there is. I went to Canada and moose hunted um, back I'm thinking mid 90s, I think it was. And I had that meat for quite a while, and it was best meat I've ever had. It's that moose.
Yeah, they are really delicious. Moose is good. Caribou's good. I have got a bunch of blacktail still from last year. I got a little bit of muskox in my freezer that a buddy gave me that they got. I, I haven't had anything up here yet that doesn't taste good.
Yeah. Well, once you learn how to cook it, that's the biggest challenge. I know when I first started hunting, I didn't really know how to cook it too well. And one deer would last us a whole year. Then after learning how to cook it and stuff, and then my freezer was full. I got another deer, and it lasted about 2 weeks because we made jerky out of the whole deer. Because I had no place to put it in the freezer because it was full, and so I started making jerky, and my kids were eating it as fast as it was getting ready. And yeah, about 2 weeks, and it was gone.
Yep, I know how that goes. And I process everything myself for the most part. So I grind all my own burger, make all my own breakfast sausage, and cut all my own steaks and roasts and everything. So you put a moose down, it's a lot of work. There, you got a couple of days of butchering and processing. That's why I tend to favor more like caribou and the blacktail because I can butcher one by myself in a day and it's not too much.
Yeah, I know when I got my moose, I was working full time, so I had time in the evening. It took me basically a week to get it all cut up and wrapped up and froze. And the nice thing about butchering yourself is you can fix the size of steaks you want or whatever you want to do, and you can package them up so it fits your family.
Yep,
Yeah,
you can pack it and you know exactly how the meat's handled and treated and what's going in it, and you can make sure that it's being handled appropriately and you're
yeah,
mixing, putting.
I know. I can tell the difference between ground that comes from a butcher as opposed to the ground that I did. For one thing, you get some of the ground comes from a butcher, and it stinks and it doesn't taste as good because they mix some of the fat in there. Because they're not going to go through all the work to trim off every little bit of fat and all the little tendons and all that little silver skin on there. All comes off. The grinder I had was a hand grinder, one of the smaller ones, so it would not chew up anything. So mine was 100% meat. There was no extra stuff in there because I'd have to keep taking the thing apart and cleaning out the cutters and put it back together and grind some more. And then I got a little bit bigger one, so it was a little bit easier. um, and then we got an electric one, and my son has it because he actually does more processing than I do now. But so he's got my grinder, but that's nice. We still clean them off really good, um, and then send it through. But it just takes less time to grind it, and it will grind up if you have any tendons in there. It'll grind them up. There's really no nutritional value in them. They just sometimes they get chewy, and with a hamburger they're so small that it really wouldn't bother you too much.
Yeah, I do a pretty thorough job trimming all the tendons, silver skin, everything out, and I'll leave some of it in the grind meat because I have a pretty good size grinder, so it'll kind of hog through whatever. But I prefer making sure it's all trimmed right, and then I usually cut it with a little bit of fat because everything up here for the most part is so lean. So I'll either go to Costco and they usually run good sale. I'll get a bunch of pork butt and mix it with a little bit of pork, or I'll use bacon
Yeah.
that works sausage.
Yeah, that's the one problem with the wild game like that. There's um, no fat in it. So like you make a hamburger, there's nothing to hold it together to stick together. So you have to put something in it to hold it together, and otherwise it just fall apart. Put them on a grill, and the last thing you do is it all flops down inside the burner, and yeah, so you got to do something. And rather than put an egg in there or something, I'd rather have some beef or pork fat. And
And when I lived in Minnesota for a while, we were down there. It was really nice because you could just go to one of the local meat markets and get beef suet anytime throughout deer season for when you were butchering.
oh
Just
yeah,
get things up here. Alaska is not very agricultural in terms of farming or raising livestock. It's just not super conducive. So
yeah,
there's not much premium price for it. And it's like, well, I can go buy Costco flats of bacon for a quarter of the price, and they grind up and make sausage just as well.
yeah. And it got the bacon flavor in it, so it's a win-win. So what's coming up next? What's your next shoot you're going to go to?
The next tournament that I got coming up is one of our state indoor shoots. That should be, I believe that one's in November. My next big shoot, I'm going to trying to decide if I'm going to go down and shoot the Rushmore Rumble this year because it's coupled with the ATA show in Indianapolis. So I might
Yeah,
jump that one. I'm talking with some of the sponsors and seeing if anybody needs help working a booth for ATA and go down, kind of do a whole showing, hang out, see everybody. Otherwise, my first out of state shoot will be Foley in February, and then I'll shoot Vegas, and then kind of take a little break, go work most of the spring. And I'll shoot Reading. I got a bunch of outdoor stuff coming up. I'm gonna go shoot for the FITA Field team trials in June. Go try to make the FITA Field team. Then go shoot Field Nationals in July. I might add a couple more shoots here and there, seeing how everything shakes out.
see how that line up with your work schedule, huh?
I think the next big thing I got coming up, I'm gonna go build sight tapes and get the hunting ball tuned and set up for going up north chasing caribou here in the end of September. I'm dabbling with the indoor bow. I got it set up pretty good. It's shooting good. Bow's almost exactly where I want it. I got to work on me a bunch. Um,
Yeah, that's always the challenge. The bow's just fine. It's the shooter shooting it that's has a problem.
it's hard to. We have a very small archery community up here. It's like I shoot a lot and train a lot by myself, and it's hard trying to self coach sometimes and figure out what one little thing I'm doing different that's causing my problem. And sometimes it might take a little bit longer to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and then you can always send it to somebody to look at too. One of the things that we offer in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group is if you're having a question on it, take a video with your phone and upload it to the group, and we'll take a look at it. And I've been teaching archery since '95, so I've been teaching for a long time. And lots of times you can spot stuff, and I use, if I need to, I can always download the video and use it in my video editor, because then I can go frame it a day advance at a time. One frame, it just hit the little space bar or arrow key and it moves one frame at a time. And that's kind of neat. But that's one of the things we offer in a group, for the group members. If you're having a struggle, upload the video, and we'll take a look at it and see if we can see something. And if we don't see anything, well, that's one thing. Somebody else might. But I'm pretty good at spotting little bitty things that's going on.
Yeah, video is a very powerful tool. I do use that one every now and then. I'll take a bunch of video and review it, or I'll work a little bit with George and send stuff to him every once in a while. And then a bunch of the people I'm coaching, we do a lot of video stuff and show them. It's like, hey, see here, you did this different than this. And the video is very big.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot nicer now because phones are such high resolution that you can pick stuff up. When I first started, you couldn't take a video with your phone because they didn't do video. When I first started. And if you wanted to record anything, you're doing a VCR tape
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way you're going to record it unless you take like a Super 8 or something like that. But, you get the VCR recorders and they don't take the best video. So you really couldn't see. And most VCR players, you can play forward, stop, and go back and forward. I did have one time that I could actually turn the dial and go frame at a time, and that's how I caught when I was down hog hunting down in Texas. Guy was videoing it, and I went down to archery, and last day they didn't set me up in an archery blind. It was in a elevated one, and it was set up to shoot rifles out of. So my only option is to shoot out the doorway. Well, the last day I went ahead and took my buddy. He went down with a rifle. I took his rifle, and the first one, I don't know how I missed. It had a really light trigger, and most of my rifles aren't set up that, well, at least since high school when I was on rifle team. But so I put a little pressure on it and it went off. Well, I missed, and later on, then I get another shot and got it. But later on, I wanted to see where I missed, so I'm going through for it. I caught the vapor trail from the bullet on one of the frames on the VCR.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, there it is. I don't even know where that VCR tape is anymore, but we don't have any play. I don't. Well, we might have a player left, but couldn't frame advance through it. But yeah, that was interesting when you caught it on just a low resolution VCR, and everything was VCR tapes. I've got a set of 6 volumes of the NFA videos, on the shot sequence and all stuff. The guy was selling it when I went to the shooter school, and I think his name was Bernie Palatira, and he had a thing, a camp punch. And what it is, it's something you put on there around the trigger. It wouldn't work on this one because it's wrong style trigger, but you couldn't punch it because it's just the way it's that. You had to shoot with the back tension release, and once you learn how to, you can do it with any release. You don't have to worry about something like that to add to your release. But once you learn the technique, it works pretty good.
I remember some of those old Bernie videos. You had a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a whole set of them. I've got actually when I got my store, I had they had a set of them, but he lost one of the volumes, like volume 1. But just to show you, this is volume 6 because it was on the top, and let me keep it in focus. Facts and Action and Fiction's tuning tips. So the whole thing is just on tuning tips, this whole VCR, which is not that long. It's maybe an hour long at most. But there's all kinds of them, um, stuff on target panic analysis and shooting form and stuff like that. There's a whole lot of things. I haven't looked at them in a long time, but you know, that's stuff always good to have in your repertoire that you go back and look at it. It's like, oh, okay, let's see this shot placement and target panic and uh, I always say if you have target panic, quit pulling the trigger. I always tell when I talk to somebody that they shoot a wrist strap, and I tell them, I'm gonna give you first lesson free. Quit pulling the trigger. And I say, "Oh, how do you know I'm doing that?" Well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen a lot of archers, they pull that trigger. And even now with YouTube, most of those archers out there doing those shooting, they're pulling the trigger. And they do some weird stuff. I don't know if you ever seen them, but they'll kind of bring it up real high and pull across their chest, and then try and bring it up. It's like, well, pulling across your chest is your weakest muscles. Use them back muscles. So yeah, it's always I say, well, um, you need to let me teach you how to shoot correctly because you're doing it all wrong. Even though you might be shooting okay, but let's shoot better.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. Like I know with social media boom and YouTube and Instagram and everything coming out, there's a lot of really good information out there that's really beneficial. There's a lot of not so trying to weed through because you do see a lot of people trying to muscle everything back. I need to shoot 85 pounds to hunt because so and so does. Don't.
No.
All you know,
Yeah, all you're doing is trying to shoot those higher weights is you're making it harder on yourself. And I always tell the archers when they're starting, it's like, well, weight should I shoot? Can the weight you can draw back slowly, like you have a deer watching you, is the weight you use. Until you can do that, you can't go up. Now, if you want to try and force it, yeah, well, you're going to develop bad habits and bad form. So just go back till you can comfortably do it and shoot, get your form down. And then when you get ready to crank it up, turn each limb a quarter turn or half turn. Quarter turn, you're never going to notice it. And then shoot that for a while. Then another quarter turn, another quarter. Next thing you know, you're going to be up to the full weight of the bow. Because they do shoot better when you're shooting at peak weight.
if you, yeah, the newer ones aren't as bad as some of the older ones. Yeah, you get more efficiency out of them with the limbs within a bottom.
Yeah, because that's back when I was doing it, there wasn't a lot of options. If you had somebody with a long draw length that didn't have a lot of strength to pull it back anymore. Sometimes you get some of the kids that are really tall, have long arms, but yet they haven't developed the muscles yet. So how do you get them in a bow that fits them that they can still shoot? Well, there's a couple of things you can do, changing draw lengths and changing by changing strings and strings and cables. And it also changes the peak weight as well as the draw length. So you can mess around a little bit with that. And especially if you have somebody that can't really do it, like I had one bow for my daughter come in that we had it in 70-pound limbs. Well, she was not going to pull that. So we got 60-pound limbs, it was down to 50, and she wasn't going to pull that at all. So I had to redo the strings and cable to get her down to, that 30 to 40 that she could pull back. And now, is it going to shoot efficiently? Would it a little bit different? No, but it didn't matter because she couldn't shoot it. And that's the thing you have to go through is just make sure it fits you. That's the biggest secret.
Sure, make sure. People ask me all the time for all the things I shoot.
Yeah, you're starting to break up.
It's probably a questionable internet we have up here. Got me?
Yeah, it just could be just the internet, connection, and you could have clouds or storm rolling through, and that kind of interferes with um, sometimes the signal.
We don't have the best.
Yeah, I'm not hearing much what you're saying right now.
Any better?
Yeah, a little better now. Now I can hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we have great internet.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have very good connection and it does it. And I've had times when it's actually the computer just needs to get rebooted because something got lost in its configuration and they do that and sometimes that's how you fix them. But
Yeah, I was saying I only shoot between 57 and 50. Never had it tired. I've shot about 50 at a bow that was comfy and shot.
Yeah, you don't have to shoot a lot of weight. Shooting that 57, 58, 60-pound range is what a lot of archers shooting right in that range. Uh, I know my first deer that I killed was 52 pounds and 145 grain Muzzy broadhead, 4 blade, and a 21-17 full length arrow. So it was a heavy arrow. I don't know how much that weighed, but that was probably good, you know, 400 grain arrow. And the deer was 40 yards away. I was 20 feet up in the tree, and that arrow just about passed all the way through. When it turned around into the grass field, I seen almost my whole arrow hanging out the backside. And it didn't take long for it to get caught on some grass, and it pulled it out the rest of the way. And shot placement, that's the biggest thing is your shot placement.
Shot placement is key. I only shoot that point.
Yeah, we're back to losing your signal, so I think we kind of the end of our the time here because your internet's going out. We can't hear you. Well, if we can get the signal, so you can talk, but um, what would you like to say to our audience?
Well, I hope to see everybody out there. I'm approachable on things. Thank you, especially for having me on. A lot of fun. Wouldn't mind doing it.
Yeah, we can definitely do this again. If you get a little bit better internet, so we don't get we were going along real good for a while, and then all of a sudden it started going out, and um, maybe it's just getting late enough. Says we're done. Yeah, let me know when you next thing once you go to the event, just go ahead and post information in the group. And like I said, if you or anybody else that's listening wants to upload a video, I like looking at them and seeing, and that's kind of fun part of coaching is he's like, oh, try this, and then it works. And you try something else, and oh, that helped too, and something try this. Well, that didn't help much, but okay, let's try this instead, and that's the fun part of coaching. Well, I think your audio is kind of pretty much left. So, um, yeah, I'd like to talk some more, but we can't really talk when I can't hear you no more. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and end this one. My name is Roy Canterbury, and I've been your host here on Archery Talk 101. And Jacob's been a great guest. Yeah, I can't talk too much either today, but so it's great having you on, and I'm sure we'll be in touch later. And um, just remember, if you want to watch the video, you can watch it on uh, Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. You can also watch it on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself, as well as if you go to archerytalk101.com, there's a section in there for podcasts, and I have the podcast gets posted there off my YouTube channel. So that's a couple places you can watch it. You can listen to it anywhere podcasts are sent, like on Spotify and all other places, as well as you can go to audible.com and you can download the podcast off there. I get a lot of people do that because it just lets them know when the next one comes out. And I try to put out 2 a week, Mondays and Fridays. Once in a while, I don't if I don't have enough interviews stocked up, but that's when they come out at 6 o'clock in the morning on Mondays and Fridays. And now YouTube, been a little bit different time. Those normally come out in the evening, either the day before, the day after the podcast. And in the group, you get them right away. I upload them to the group pretty much as soon as I get them recorded and go from there. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. And Jacob, it's been great talking with you, and good luck on your other tournaments, and get out there and get some uh, good meat. And if you do record those hunts, go ahead and upload the video to the group. I'm sure they'd like to see it, and I'd like to see it as well. And one nice thing about the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group is we don't allow people to post links outside to stuff, and you can't sell anything in there. I want it to be just information. And if somebody has a tournament coming up, you may see them in there, and I'll tag them up to the top so you can see them. That way, go out and support some of these groups when they post the shoots that they're in, and we'll catch everybody on the next one. And we might not about hear you, but just go ahead and wave bye, and we'll talk you to the next one. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.